The Spanish Announce Table.
It is episode 412. We are Tim and Tom of the Spanish Announce Table. We are coming in hot, off the chain like Brittany Griner. Tom, how the hell are things, man? We got a lot of pro wrestling to talk about, and we're already enjoying ourselves. We hope you enjoy yourselves along the ride with us.
All right, so if you take anything away from this episode, the question I want you to ask is Brian one or two syllables? Because no one says Brian. Brian? Is it? That's Brian.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing I want you to take away from this episode.
Yeah, debate amongst yourselves. Put it in the chat on the YouTube live during the stream, or hit us up Twitter later with hashtag tweet the table. Is Brian one syllable or twos? And be honest with yourself. Say it out loud. Brian, and you tell me it's two syllables. Hit me up in the chat. Tweet. Let's have a chat. God. And let's also have a chat about pro wrestling, right? We want to talk about pro wrestling. We want to talk about the television that we see on our screens. Most specifically, Tom and I, we like to talk about AEW Dynamite, right? Because WWE is boring by and large. There's exceptions to every rule, but WWE is boring in our minds. So we heavily focus on AEW Dynamite because it feels more fun. And why it feels more fun is because the stories we're seeing on the TV. Why do I keep saying that? It's because we have to make a proclamation. We're heading into 2023 coming up. Yeah.
Yep. Tim, we are ending 2022. We are going into 2023. With 2023 comes new goals, new challenges, new milestones to reach. And we cannot do that if we do not have a solid foundation. And with that solid foundation, going into the year 2023, comes a proclamation. Tim, you are more articulate than me, so I will hand over the reins to you. The proclamation of the Spanish Announce Table.
Yeah, and in true Bobby Heenan School of Journalism fashion, I didn't pre-write anything, so I should have come up with like a fancy, undo the scrolls, but here's the gist of it. We're here to talk about the pro wrestling storylines and how we see them on TV and where we think they might go. We might offer some suggestions on what the storyline should be. We might come up with some fantasy bookings here and now. But what we do not really care to talk about with you guys here, of course, you're free to chat amongst each other on the YouTube chats, on the Twitter with hashtag tweet the table. Follow us at Table Show for as long as Twitter still exists. But we don't want to talk about somebody's contract is up and they're leaving to go to this company or that company. Now, the biggest news of such, we're going to break that rule so we can set up why, right? Why we're talking about this rule now, is the William Regal saga that has unfolded on the IWC. William Regal gets cocked in the back of the head, kayfabe storyline by MJF, and immediately, as Tom was very upset about last week, everybody wanted to say, see, this is him going back. Triple H has won again. He struck gold. And of course, nobody knows what the fuck they're talking about, right? Nobody knows what the fuck they're talking about. You and I talked about this offhand. I said, it could just be as simple as he was like, hey, listen, I'd really like to go back, or I'd like to get out of this contract, for whatever reason. Can we not pick it up at whenever it was supposed to end? Like I said, it could have been a rolling contract. And they were like, yeah, sure, that's reasonable, fine. And Tony Khan comes out and addresses the situation. And guess what? It was exactly fucking that. He had a short-term rollover contract, right? It was like a year at a time. And he said, hey, can we not pick up the next year? My son's over here. I'd really like to be close to my son. And Tony's like, yeah, do us a solid. Don't be on TV for a year to sell this angle. And everybody's happy. People are forgetting, like, this is just a place of work for some of these guys, right? Like, this isn't like, they're not like, I'm a Triple H guy till I die, right? Like, grow the fuck up, guys. Like, this isn't how they're approaching their jobs. This isn't certainly how we're approaching watching our entertainment. So we have two major companies that can pluck any talent out of either company, and they can both afford to pay them, right? We haven't had that in a long time. So there's going to be a lot of this. There's going to be back and forth. And I bet you 99% of the decisions made on who goes where to what company is just going to be based on whatever benefits them and their loved ones the best, more often than not financially or stress level wise, right? So can we not talk about that shit? We don't have time to bring up fucking Johnny Gargano's contract is up in March. I'm making this up. Is he going to AEW? And like, I don't give a shit, right? Like, sure, we can mention, like, when we know, like, we've got sources saying Johnny Gargano has signed a contract with AEW in this example. Then we, I don't feel bad about us talking like, well, hey, that'll be interesting. Maybe we'll get some angles and storylines. How would you book it? But this whole idea of who's stabbing who in the back and Triple H is, guys, knock it the fuck off. Right? Grow up. Let's watch some wrestling and talk about what we've seen and what maybe they did well or didn't do well. Is that too hard? Is that difficult?
Exactly. The part of the business that I think we're interested in, and we have been victims of this in the past, and that's why the proclamation is starting now moving forward. But the part of the business that we will mention is official news, right? So if WWE puts out a press release that says talent A has been released, we can say, well, that affects a storyline on SmackDown. And that's what we'll talk about. Or if AEW has a graphic and it says person B is now all elite, we'll say, wow, they're debuting in the company. What will that look like? Who will they interact with? And vice versa. Same thing. Those are the things that are official. What we will not do is go into this rumor. What's the fucking famous thing that the Conrad says? Rumor and innuendo. We don't do that.
Yes.
Like,
right.
Yeah, we're not into that. We're not into ratings because, again, I went on my long rant. Side note, I'm trying to be a little bit more happier because I got a lot of feedback that was pretty
really?
angry. And guess what? I was, because it was stupid. But this week, I'm just going to tell you, we want to talk about
Tom
the
smile.
stories. Did you see how hard I was laughing when we started this?
Yes,
Brian.
yeah, right. Brian.
Yeah.
Brian. 1.5 syllables
Brian,
at best.
tell me. Yeah, tell me how do you say it. But
your name is 1
1/4
syllables long.
Right.
Yeah.
So we just want to talk about what we see on the television. With that being said, that is our proclamation. Now we are moving forward on our new journey in Table Nation. And that will start with last night's AEW Dynamite recap. So, Tim, last night we were in the state of Texas, which is fine. And it kicked off with a Dynamite Diamond Ring Battle Royal. What'd you think of this?
I love the Dynamite Battle Royal, and right before I jump into that, I want to mention in the YouTube chat, somebody agrees with our proclamation, it seems. Testosterone, that's a great username, says too much Markism these days, thanks to guys like Sean Ross Sapp, JD Fronny, is that what it is? Yep, Fromney, and Uncle Dave
JD.
Meltzer.
I've
from
seen
New
this
York,
guy
JD
pop
from New
up.
York. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I've seen it. Sorry. My old man eyes couldn't see the screen.
Well, and you guys think that I'm angry? Go check out 6 minutes of his. I think, like, I'm one of the more angrier people you'll ever meet. Grumpy, all of that. But he gives me a run for my money. Yeah, he gives me a run for my money. Credit to him for being an asshole.
Let's get a podium showdown. Remember the game that we used to play, like, what can't Tom complain about? Let's have you get a breakdown with this guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'll go with you, JD. Topic for topic. Let's see who can be angrier. Hey, but last night did start off with the Dynamite Diamond Ring Battle Royal.
Yes.
And we had a lot of fun stuff here. And so I'll just touch on a little bit and then get your feedback. But then let's get to the finish. Because, again, with the Battle Royal, we could go hours on it, right?
So correct me if I'm wrong here. Did I even miss this last week? Like, the Dynamite battle, like, you win the Dynamite Diamond Ring Battle Royal, rolls right off the tongue, and you're not the Dynamite Diamond Ring holder yet. You've got to face the previous year's winner to take it from them.
Well, here's the thing.
Right?
So
is that what I'm to understand now?
Well, but here's the thing that we don't know. So the only person to win this is MJF. So the first year, no, you can't take on the previous year's winner because you're first. But then he wanted a second year, so he can't take on himself. And then he wanted a third year, so he can't take. So possibly that maybe is a stipulation. But if you keep,
I don't hate that idea. That's a cool idea, albeit like, because then you can get a run of somebody who's just got to win one match, and then you're kind of like, you're not the fucking Dynamite, whatever.
Right.
Kind of like this. Hey, be the man, you got to beat the man. But yes, all right. So the Dynamite Diamond Battle was great, right? Everybody's all over the place. You've got Darby Allin getting chucked around.
Well, no, he's not in this. He's not in
Oh,
this.
that's later. That's later, right? That's the that's the match. But you've got Dalton Castle is in this thing. And you've got, just Brian Cage, right? So he's a monster. And just, Battle Royals, it's hard to screw up, right? You get some fun spots. But we knew where this was going, right? We knew this whole time was set up for Little Ricky, right?
Well, possibly, because it finishes with the three people, which is Matt Hardy, who works for the firm, and they were represented by Ethan Page. And then the babyface in that was Ricky Starks. I could have believed, again, because even though the firm are heels and MJF is a heel, the firm and MJF don't like each other anymore, right? So I could easily see at a future date, so Winter is Coming is next week, you could have done MJF takes on Ricky Starks, and then the Dynamite Diamond Ring winner, Ethan Page, fights MJF for that, and then says, I got your ring, now I'm going for your title. I could have easily seen kind of a blend of heel kind of stuff with MJF and the firm. That's all to say, yes. I think if you're betting man and you don't want to lose your money, you put it on Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks won this match. It was very good. It was fun. I think to your point, the Dalton Castle moment where he kept on getting hit off and saved by the boys and getting hit off and saved by the boys. I thought that was the spot of the night.
Right. Yeah. Yes. And that's the fun point of a battle royal often is you get these little moments of glimpses of kind of where these storylines cross, there's blending. And if we're going to get a Dalton Castle, it's going to be good. So, I didn't hate it. I kind of was half paying attention, to be honest, because I knew Ricky Starks is taking
Well, yeah, the finish was fine, but I thought some of the things that came from the fallout of this was interesting. One in particular is Jungle Boy was chokeslammed through the fucking earth by Morrissey. So I'm interested now to see if Jungle Boy and Morrissey and the firm kind of go off into their own little thing.
And fine, I just feel like that would just be running back the Jungle Boy storyline we just did, right? If we've got small guy, Stokely Hathaway is without the friendship part, right? He's got to overcome the monster, but Stokely Hathaway is the guy who's really pissed him off. And so, but I would probably be like, all right, well, that's the opening match, right? That's
possibly, definitely. Right. So let's get to it. Yeah, Ricky Starks wins before his music can even hit. MJF walks out,
which was great, right? You win a thing, and then the guy who's your arch nemesis, his music plays, and you're just like, this motherfucker, right? I like that touch. That was good.
Yeah, so he comes out, and before he even addresses Ricky Starks, he foreshadows, and he brings up Bryan Danielson and talks about sucks to be you, and you're sitting there next to the hospital bed of old Billy Regal over there. Sucks to be you. Now, Ricky Starks. So I thought that was interesting that before we even got to Ricky, we still got Bryan Danielson on the brain. Again, I think that's foreshadowing, but we shall see. So here's the thing where MJF will always hit a solid home run, if not a grand slam, and he cuts right into Ricky Starks, calling him a dollar store version of The Rock. He even gets I think they were in San Antonio, right? Which is his adopted hometown, because apparently he wrestled in that area and became a big star, right? Locally. But he even got that crowd to start chanting The Pebble at Ricky Starks. Mm-hmm. There's something to be said that even when you're the biggest heel and you go into that person's hometown, when they chant the bad thing at the babyface, you're pretty fucking good. Now, this is a smarky crowd, as they say, right? They're in on it too, but still, I thought it was impressive.
Pretty easily, but it was very impressive.
So I thought it was pretty impressive that he could get the Pebble chant for Ricky Starks. Now, Ricky Starks, to his credit, never lets it look like it gets to him. He kind of just smirks and stares off into the crowd while all the insults are just hitting him in the face. Then he gives him a good old shoulder check and gets on the mic. And Tim, this is probably, I'm not that familiar with anything Ricky Starks has done before AEW, just complete transparency. I know he was in NWA. MJF mentioned it, that he's going to send him back there. but I don't know his promo ability as far as like where he ranks amongst the greats of right now. However, that has to be top 5, and it's not 2, 3, 4, or 5 of his best promos. And that was an AEW all-timer. What did you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. So, again, I thought all the same things. MJF comes out, he's foreshadowing to Bryan Danielson, and I don't think even as we discussed this greatest promo Ricky Starks might have ever cut, I still don't feel like people are like, Ricky Starks has a shot at winning this title right now. So the Bryan Danielson thing, MJF is the master of setting up the next thing so we can run that footage when we're selling this thing. However, the good storyline to tell there is he's looking past Ricky Starks, and oops, now Ricky Starks gets one over and he's the champ, but that would really throw so many things off, and I just doubt they're going that way. But Ricky Starks took this moment and this opportunity to elevate himself to a level that I didn't think we would place him at otherwise. And yeah, he cuts down MJF's whole existence. He just shit on everything he is, right? Like just in rapid fire, and then goes into a Dusty Rhodes Hard Time-esque, you know what I mean? Like, oh, you know, like say I'm wrestling on YouTube, like I done it, motherfucker. Like now I'm here and I'm ready to kick your ass. Loved all of this. I was just, I mean, like I had to watch it several times because I was just like, that guy fucking murdered this man. It was great.
So I have a lot of thoughts on this promo. One, again, I think it's an AEW all-timer, and to me, the best promo of Ricky Starks' young career, because again, I don't know any independent promos he's done, right? Also, this was another thing that we've talked about in the past. This is Ricky Starks. When he can look at MJF and say, crappy shoes, your pants are never pressed, your shirt's too tight, you have an ugly haircut, that scarf is a piece of shit. Like, that's Ricky Starks. Ricky Starks was never Team Taz in the Red Hook section. We talked about that in the past where it felt like Scorpio Sky would have been better in Team Taz, and Ricky Starks and Ethan Page as the Men of the Year would have been a better fit for Ricky Starks. I think this promo proved that point. Again, that's in the past, nothing to pat ourselves on the back on, but that version of Ricky Starks really shined through of, hey, you think you dress well? You fucking don't. And here's how I can tell. Cheap shoes, too small of a shirt, bad pants, you know, all that stuff. And it was like, God damn. And then it even says, like, you think you can compare to moi? And it was just like, fuck yeah.
The line that I think gets glanced over too was the one he came out the gate with was, every week you come out here smelling like paint thinner and ass. And as much as we love MJF, you look at him and you go, oh yeah, no, that makes sense. I bet he does smell like paint thinner and ass. It's so fun.
Well, the line that was a great line. The line that for me that I thought may have cut a little bit too close to the heart was how he says he gets a spray tan on his eczema. Like, goddamn. Because that's the one thing I will say this. Side note before we get back into it. My wife reads a book while Dynamite is on, but she'll glance up every so often. And MJF will say some type of one-liner that will make her stop reading and be like, what the hell is this, right? And every time she's ever seen him, her first comment is, man, his hands are way too spray tanned. Because his hands are orange every fucking week. Face looks like this, and hands looks like a fucking hot dog. And it's an eyesore. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. So I thought that was actually pretty cut to the beat.
Yeah.
Now,
I know. Yep.
The other thing I'll say is this kind of made you see Ricky Starks in a different light, right? We were like, whoa. And here's the thing. I agree with you. I think the writing is on the wall from the foreshadowing of Bryan Danielson. Ricky Starks, again, if you're a betting man, is not going to win this match. Here's where you can't drop the ball. You can't have him do that amazing promo. I imagine the match is going to be good because one, MJF rarely has bad matches. Ricky Starks is obviously a good wrestler.
Same, yeah.
So what you can't do is MJF low blows him, gets the 1, 2, 3, and then we don't see Ricky Starks for 4 weeks.
Right. Yeah,
that's what cannot happen.
Ethan Page.
Right. Well, I mean, that can be something. Yeah, that can be something, but make it sure it's the following week is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
You can't just do these throwaway things. Here's the other thing I thought, and tell me what you think about this. And this is maybe going too high level of an overview of AEW, but we've always been told of these pillars, right? I can't remember who was the first one to say it, but then pillars became the conversation of AEW's, youth movement, moving towards 2023 and beyond, right? And it was Darby Allin, MJF, Sammy Guevara, and who was the fourth one? Britt Baker? Oh, and Jungle Boy. Yeah, Jungle Boy. In my opinion, even though I forgot him, Jungle Boy, I would say, is your heartthrob. Darby Allin is your must-see TV, which we'll talk about in just a moment. MJF is your foundation. But after this promo and some of his matches, Ricky Starks? I haven't seen Sammy Guevara stand on his own, be as believable as that. Now, they were also in his hometown.
Yeah, but Ricky Starks has, so, he called him Dollar Store Dwayne and said, you're ripping off The Rock, because he does have some of those mannerisms, I think, but it's also because he's one of those guys that when you walk in the room, he has charisma, and he's understood that, and so you kind of get a swagger about you when you're a stud. Mm-hmm. Tom. I mean, and, come on, we know. If you... Look, some people think Sammy Guevara is attractive. I'm not going to discredit the man. I think he's got a top 5 punchable face in pro wrestling history. But if you walk in Ricky Starks, it's not like he's, either one of these guys are clearly above the other. And I bet Ricky Starks is probably going to get some more attention from ladies, some of the fellas. Like, he's a guy that if you walked in the room, you'd be like, who is that guy? And so, I think he's probably more apt to get you more, or I would put him as a pillar, right? I think I would push him a little more than the Sammy Guevara. If that makes sense.
I think he just has a little bit more seasoned reps with his presence.
Correct.
Now,
yes.
I think, again, the thing that was holding him back, and it was no one's real fault, but the Team Taz thing was just a miscast character. That just did not fit into what Powerhouse Hobbs, Hook, and Taz are. He just never fit, in my eyes, just never fit in there. So we kind of always looked at least for me, I'll speak for myself, I always thought of him as just, But now that he can be flashy shirts, talks about how bad your style is, can do a big spear, which took MJF out of his shoes, for Christ's sake, which was a good touch. That, I think, can be positioned as, okay, all those spots that we had set for Sammy when he got away from Inner Circle and it kind of fell flat, let's put Ricky Starks in those, right? And let him go with that. That's, again, high-level overview. But let's get back to the promo. Yeah. So Ricky Starks then transitions out of just the visual insults of who MJF is, talks about how he can't handle responsibility. He talks about how he would show up to autograph signings, which MJF would not. He talked about how he doesn't run away to Greece for 3 months because he didn't get his way, which MJF apparently did. Alluding to, again, we don't know, but alluding to, that's what he did. And the thing that I thought was the coolest part of this whole thing is the Hall of Fame-esque promos that we have got from MJF literally since day one. When he made fun of Bret Hart and said, oh, there's a fan coming, and it made Bret Hart snicker. And then when he called Hangman Adam Page Seabiscuit. I mean, since that time, we have millions of other great one-liners. But for him to not respond and then low blow him, again, I like battle rap. To me, that says Ricky Starks won.
Right.
That says Ricky Starks won, which you can count on one finger how many people have done that, right? And so
correct.
That I thought was the coolest part of the whole thing.
And that's what I mean. I think he took this moment because, yes, he won this battle, right? Could Ricky Starks win the next 7 out of 8 battles with MJF? Maybe not, right? But he got his one, and now we're going into a match with a whole lot more interest than we were before. Yeah. And the whole Ricky Starks persona has, like I said, elevated to another level for me now. Now I've got some backstory of driving motivator for this guy, right? Like he's showed some badass stripes, right? Like he showed he's not afraid, and that he's like, no, I am this moment. I am the fucking star, right? Like, get out of my way. And so I couldn't have liked this more. I do worry, like you said, what happens after this, because I don't think there's a chance to tell. Now, again, another good story is Bryan Danielson shows up and costs MJF the title, and Ricky Starks got it. But I just don't think we're there yet either with Ricky Starks has the AEW World title. So
no, but my biggest concern is you have to have him follow up the following week. You can't have him go out and we catch him in January's, New Year's Eve show. You got to keep the ball rolling with this.
But we do need the Table Nation to tell us what you thought. So hit us up in the chats, the Twitters, the Table Show. Tell us what you thought of the Ricky Starks promo and what happens next when he undoubtedly loses this. We'll make picks, of course, when the time comes, but he's losing. Yeah.
So after that, we then get a really quick promo package, I thought, with Darby Allin and Samoa Joe, where Darby Allin's like, you're going to have to kill me. And Samoa Joe's like, gladly. And so we go to a break. We come back. Jon Moxley is on our television and he's backstage and he tells us this Sunday or Saturday, it's going to be the end of JAS versus Blackpool Combat Club, which thank God. But then he also says, hey, Hangman, you want to fight me? You know where I'm at. Like, I don't hide in the shadows. I'm right here. So if you want to get on your horse and see what's up, let's find out. And one thing that I did like is he's like, I kind of like it. I kind of like him. I like this. It's like he got knocked down and he wanted to knock down the guy that hit him in the face. And that was me. So I get it. So let's go. I thought that was great. That's a cool thing. So he cuts that. I think the important part from this promo, and I think you'll agree, is the hopefully the writing is on the wall that Saturday is the end for now of JAS versus Blackpool Combat Club. We can only hope. Yeah. Right. They can go this way and then 2 years from now or whatever, then come back. Right. Yes. I think that's, if anything, what we could do. Now let's get into the craziest match of the night, maybe of the year. I don't know. This was bonkers. It was Darby Allin challenging Samoa Joe for the AEW TNT Championship, and Christ. Yeah. I'll tell you what, this is how I honestly felt after this whole segment, and we'll kind of break down what happened. But I legitimately felt like I just want to give him a hug. I just want to give him a hug and some ice cream and be like, bro, it's cool, man. Like, we're here for you. Yeah. And I don't even need to know, but you're going to be okay. Yeah. Yeah. So some of the crazy spots here is we get the Darby Allin suicide jump through the ropes, and Samoa Joe does his patented step off like this fucking idiot. We got that. I thought that was great. We get another moment where Samoa Joe throws Darby's head into the ring post, which damn near I really thought knocked him out from the way he kind of fell to the ground, like kind of flew in the air and then fell lifeless on the ground. And then Samoa Joe kind of takes some offense from Darby Allin. Darby Allin then goes for his coffin drop. That goes right into a rear naked choke. Samoa Joe wins the match. But I think we would both agree the moment of the night, or the moment of this match, and maybe moment of the night, was post-match. Darby Allin gets up and is like, I told you you'd have to kill me, you son of a bitch. And Samoa Joe is like, all right, then I will. He headbutts him, turns the damn skateboard the other way around, wheels up, and then does the muscle buster to where the rolling of the wheel hits his lumbar. His lumbar was fucked after this, man.
If anybody's ever, touched a skateboard, that is like hard steel. the base for those, like where those wheels are, whatever they call that. That is
I don't know what it is, but yeah.
Ridiculous. And I just, man, I don't see the benefit of it, right? Like, I don't see why, like, if you're Darby Allin, like, I mean, yes, but you can accomplish a spot like that without actually potentially leaving yourself with a paralyzed, because you broke your spine. Like, it just...
Again, I think...
At least Jackass had stunt coordinators, man. Like...
Yeah, but, like, again, I think he just needs a hug.
Yeah,
so, Samoa Joe does the muscle buster.
Who was flexing at one point from all of this.
Yeah. Well, that's when he knocked him out. When he knocked him out, and then they're starting to do the count, and he's like, check this out right here. Look at all this. Look at all this fat. Love it. But then after he does the muscle buster, again, he had already won the match, does the muscle buster. Then he puts him again in a choke, and here comes Wardlow. Samoa Joe then cowers out. Now, I get that, because this was an AEW title match, AEW TNT title match. Samoa Joe is your AEW TNT champion. I will say this. We left that segment with, man, Samoa Joe and Wardlow. Looking forward to that. That'll be a fun one-on-one contest. And then you think to yourself, oh yeah, Saturday is Samoa Joe versus Juice Robinson. This is where it's going to get difficult for Samoa. Now, again, I saw this on my timeline. As you mentioned, Tony Khan did a media call and he said, hey, well, I'll talk about the TV deal after the pay-per-view. Whatever we got to do. I hope Ring of Honor gets a TV show, because you're going to run into this problem every single time.
Yeah, he gave every indication that he said we'll talk about it afterwards, because they're going to debut during that thing that they've got a TV deal, right? Like, he's playing coy about it. I hope so. That's the idea, I think. And he said that they're going to reduce the ROH exposure on AEW so as not to muddy the waters. Well, bro, you already did that, but thanks for correcting the problem, right? Because we've bitched about that for quite a bit.
And let's give him a little bit of credit here. And maybe I'm a Tony Khan apologist. Call me whatever you want. I don't care. I probably don't like you anyhow. But
bitch.
Sure. Been called worse. But for one thing that I will say that Tony Khan should get more credit about is he hears criticism and he course corrects. It may not be the smoothest thing in the world, but he will say, okay, like you're tired of the Ring of Honor people? I'm getting a TV deal, right? And so we have been trained from the other company.
Sometimes he overcorrects.
That when we don't like them.
Right, but,
well, and I mean, but you got to figure it out, right?
Nobody's perfect.
But we have been trained. Yeah, but we have been trained by the other company that, fuck you, you're gonna like it. We're just gonna do it to spite you. Fuck you. Take it. Take it,
Vince McMahon famously had phrases saying, like, the people don't know what they want, right? Like, it just...
Right.
But here, he'll say, like, oh, you don't like the ROH? It's gone. Good news, I just bought Impact. You'd be like, no, God, please, hey. Slow down.
Right.
Yeah. He's a little overeager sometimes, but he does hear it because he is... Ultimately, at heart, he is a pro wrestling fan who realized, hey, I could make a pro wrestling company because I'm rich. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, if you made one of us rich, we might be a little bit all over the place too, being like, let's do this because I want to. And then you go, yeah. I mean, not us.
Yeah,
the royal, the table nation, us. I
understand.
Them, us.
So,
not us.
We leave that segment, again, with Joe walking away and Wardlow flexing on him. I'll say this also. Samoa Joe's been champ for what, 2 weeks? 3 weeks?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Wardlow was champ for a couple months. Joe's already done more with calling himself the king of television and doing all of these things than Wardlow. And again, it's easier to be heel, right? You can do more things and be a little bit more fun.
Samoa Joe's well more experienced and been there, done that. We're watching Wardlow grow live. But he's doing it slow.
And here's the other thing, though, that I will say. Wardlow is very strong. Wardlow is physically impressive. But Wardlow is not the biggest guy in the world. And when Samoa Joe dwarfs him, it's hard for you to tell me the monster Wardlow when it was like the guy that weighs 30 pounds less than Joe?
Yeah, that's the thing is, yes, he looks like a formidable bouncer, right? Like if you bring him around here, but when you go to the land of the giants, he is very in shape, right? He's got big pecs where big pecs are supposed to be for his body size, but next to, a Brian Cage, suddenly you're like, oh, he doesn't look as big, right? Like he looked way bigger next to MJF than he does to Samoa Joe, right? Which of course everybody does, but you get what I'm saying here is that, he's sold as Brock Lesnar.
When he stands next to Billy Gunn, but then when he stands next to Billy Gunn, it's like, can Billy Gunn fight for me? I'd rather that guy. He's 56, but I'm still picking him.
Right.
And imagine if, and again, and I'm not trying to bury the guy here, but imagine Wardlow standing next to Randy Orton.
Mm-hmm.
And Randy Orton isn't the monster killer. You know what I'm saying?
No.
So maybe repackage Wardlow a little bit than just roar. But I've been wrong in the past. One of my favorite pro wrestlers was a roar gar, and he was 5'2". It was Taz.
Yeah, but sometimes it's maybe you start with this because he can handle this, and then we'll get some subtlety added in later after he can walk and chew gum at the same time. Not that he's a dumb guy. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I get what you're saying. Yeah. In the pro wrestling world, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so then backstage, Orange Cassidy is being interviewed, and he goes right up to Kip Sabian. He's like, hey, you attacked me. You want this belt? And Kip Sabian's like, I just got attacked. I am not healthy enough, but I will find a mystery opponent. And the best thing was here, Orange Cassidy goes like, so is that a yes? So who am I facing? And Tony Schiavone is like filling him in. He's like, oh. I thought that was fun. Who do you think this mystery person will be?
I don't know. That one's interesting, right? Who's the mystery person, and why is poor Kip Sabian can't get traction now? He's got to just be there to debut somebody else. Is it Miro?
It needs to be Miro.
Ooh.
Look, here's why it makes sense. 1, Miro is fucking awesome. 2, Miro can do amazing things with the championship. Just look at the TNT championship. 3, guess who he debuted with? Kip Sabian. So they have a relationship. They could have rekindled their friendship. Needs to be Miro.
And 4,
right there.
We fucking miss Miro.
And Miro's the best. Yeah. Right here. Look at him. Now it already happened.
Show it again.
We know that.
Show me Miro again. Here's it. Look at that.
Right there.
Miro.
Yeah.
Yes. Maybe you can bring a fucking tank.
Oh, that would be cool. Now, Rampage already happened, so we're guessing on something that's already in the past, but we'll see it on Friday.
So the Tony Schiavone thing that you brought up, right? Where he's like, so who am I fighting? He's like, no, it is, it's official. You'll be facing a person of his choosing. This is we all know this is a scripted television show, but that thing was set up of like, hey, we're going to fight. And he's like, well, I can't fight. And he's like, well, then pick somebody else. And he was like, Tony Schiavone doesn't know in that moment that it's official that on Rampage, they've done this a couple times where like, they're like, somebody will just say something immediate and they'll be like, they've got a graphic up. And I'm like, I know how long it takes to make a fucking graphic. Like I do it every week. You didn't do this in 10 seconds, right? Like somebody had some insider knowledge. This is dirty pool. That's the kind of thing where it's like, yes, we all know this is a scripted show we're talking about, but if I was watching a scripted show and there were plot lines like this, I'd be like, this show sucks. Like, I'm turning it. So that's the kind of stuff I would shore up. Like, you come back later, right? The next match, that's where Excalibur goes, I've just been told Tony Khan has made it official, etc. But that's small potatoes, and we love Tony Schiavone, so I'm going to forgive him for that, of course. He's the best.
And obviously, checking out their just production skills by just showing a television show.
Yeah,
I know
if we're fixing production stuff,
isn't that much better.
You're right. Yeah, we got to go somewhere. We got to start somewhere before we get to that, right? Baby steps.
Yeah.
Baby steps. Yeah.
So again, we're gonna get a mystery opponent for Orange Cassidy on this Friday night's AEW Rampage.
It is going to be Miro, and he's going to get murdered, isn't he?
I don't know who it is. I really don't. I hope it's Miro. I don't.
And if it's Miro, he's getting murdered.
Miro's getting murdered?
No, Miro's going to murder Orange Cassidy.
Oh,
if
yeah.
it's Miro,
yeah.
he's murdering him. He's gonna
100%.
He's gonna look like Darby Allin at the end of this.
I mean, easily. So we come back from commercial, and just like Hogan must pose, Jericho must be seen. We get a hype reel from Chris Jericho talking about his match with Claudio. Man, go away, bro. Stop, man.
Yeah.
You're like a needy ex-girlfriend. We don't want to hear from you. Like, chill.
Yeah. Yeah, we've overdone the Jericho thing, and we've talked about this too. Like, man, for whatever it is, Cesaro, the things he's saying are fine. They make sense, but I just don't buy in. I just don't go like, yeah, kick his ass, Cesaro, right? Like, for whatever reason, it's kind of that thing when you talked about, like, I'm never going to feel sympathy for Roman Reigns, the babyface, because, like, that guy can steal my girlfriend, right? Like, I want to see bad things happen to that guy because no bad things happen to that guy. And when I see Cesaro, it looks like he was carved out of granite by Michelangelo, speaking 7 languages, swinging the great Khali. I'm like, you know what? I don't identify with your problems, bruh. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. That's a great analogy. So we get Claudio next. We go into the ring. We get Claudio and Willer taking on Daniel Garcia and Jake Hager. Again, I think we're all exhausted from seeing these two factions bump into each other.
Yeah. The only thing interesting is the hat.
Well, the only thing
that's
interesting in the segment is after the match, though. Blackpool Combat Club wins, because who cares? But post-match, Tony Schiavone gets in the ring, and he's like, hey, talked to William Regal a couple weeks ago, and in case of his demise, he wanted to show you this.
I didn't hate it because it is a good way to shore that up, right? Like, it is a way to say, hey, I took a sacrifice, right? Like, I got that they don't necessarily need me, but I'm going to show them, one last thing of adversity. I'm going to help MJF screw him over, and I know he's going to, like, I know he's the devil, right? Which, if you watch back when he gets hit, he knows it's coming. You know what I mean? Now, at the time I thought, oops, he missed. You know what I mean? Like, MJF maybe took too long to hit him or something, and he braced too early, but maybe that was part of it, right? Like, maybe he was standing there the whole time like, this is it. This is where the shot to the back of the head comes. So, you're fine. It's just the part missing there. Again, the plot line is Tony Schiavone wouldn't have been as shocked and as like, ooh, if he had already had this interview with Regal. Like, he would have been like, fucking Regal knew it was coming, right? Like, he would have already shared this information with the people that needed to know, right? Like, I get it's wrestling. I get we got to do it on camera in canonical order or whatever the fuck you want to call it, right? But it just, those are those little things where I'm like, we need to fine tune that. And it's, because that's the stuff where I think you'd mentioned this before. If I'm trying to show somebody who's never watched wrestling before, and I'm like, no, you should watch this. This is fun. Those are the things that they're going to be like, well, wait a minute. Why did he then do the thing? That doesn't make sense. And you got to go, well, it's wrestling. So, and just, I wish we would fine tune those. And if this is part of like Regal's actually leaving again, the stuff we're not supposed to talk about, then, I mean, it's a good way to shore it up and explain an absence. And I guess we'll move on. I kind of wish more we had kind of what we had suggested where they're like, let's go get revenge for Regal. And Moxie's like, you motherfuckers do you then, because fuck him, right? And they're like, what are you talking about, right? And he's like, what do you mean, what am I fucking talking about? Fuck him, right? And then a little infighting there, maybe. I thought that would have been maybe a more interesting story to tell than now they just move on with the wise words of their dead relative. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, and that's what it felt like. So after he gives this convoluted, I turned on you and cost you your favorite thing to teach
as a
you
favor
a lesson,
to you.
And like, again, it sounded, I think this is what happened. I think that sounds cool in the room when you're not getting any outside opinion on what you're fucking saying, right? Yeah. There's been plenty of ideas that I've came up with, where in the moment it sounds fucking great. And then I watch it back, I'm like, that's fucking dumb. That's one of them, right? In the moment, it probably sounded like, oh, how profound and how thoughtful and insightful.
This has never been done before.
Yeah, and then you're like, well, here's the fucking reason it's never been done for. It doesn't make goddamn sense. So Moxley essentially kind of says that because he's like, okay, hey, Saturday they're going to win this. Friday night I got an open challenge, Blackpool Combat Club. Okay, and that's it. Then, Tim, I think this was maybe the most disappointing segment, and it wasn't even that long for me. We get a vignette from the House of Black. And they essentially do this nursery rhyme of, if you don't like what we've been doing, come and tell us. We're the House of Black. Blah, 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 blah. Bro, we didn't care for it that the first time around. At least do it in a different light. Do it in a red light or something. Like, it's the same fucking thing.
Well, and this thing of, like, AEW's corrupt, and we're going to be the ones that do it. It's like, okay, all I was reminded of was, remember when Bray Wyatt was leaving NXT, and he was like, we're going to take down the machine, and everybody's like, oh, this is going to be awesome. And then he shows up speaking nursery rhymes and doesn't take anything fucking down. And we've not been led to believe as we watch AEW that there's any corruption at the levels of power on the storylines, kayfabe, right? We're watching this thing. Mm-hmm. We're not seeing, Eric Bischoff joining the NWO here, right? Like, so now they could be saying it's, you don't see it, but all we know of the power where there could be corruption in AEW is Tony Khan, and I really don't want to see the House of Black takes on Tony Khan, so I don't know where the fuck we go with that, or if we'll go anywhere, or if it was just another one of their nonsensical ramblings. That's the worry I have about these spooky fucking characters, right? Everybody, like, oh my God, I like it, because, I don't know, they like to fucking cosplay up and witches hats and shit and fucking put, eyeliner on or something, but, like, and so they identify with these fucking characters who, you know what I mean, are studs and look cool while they do it, but, like, the storylines never make any goddamn sense, right? Like, it's too fantastical for something that we can't actually pull off when we get in a ring and we're fucking having a quote-unquote sporting event. You know what I mean? If like, so it just doesn't make sense, right? Like, I get people that want to be dark and use it as head games, but this doesn't make any sense. Like, why are you guys disappearing in the shadows talking about corruption where there is none that we've been shown?
Well, that's not even, I don't care about that. Who cares? But here's the thing that they fucking sucked at. On Rampage, they had Brody King and Buddy Murphy had Ortiz up for their finisher, and Malachi Black says, put him down. And so they put him down, and then they go attack other people. Now, apparently they kicked him, which probably if they could have done again, they wouldn't have done. It was probably just, I kicked something that was close to me. Oh shit, it was Ortiz. Probably shouldn't have done that. Take two kind of thing, but we're doing this live, pal, right? But this is the opportunity here where you could do the vignette of saying, Ortiz, you want to know why you were spared? We will tell you. Like, it could have still been spooky and nonsensical, but with a mission. If you just say, we're back, well, fucking, it's like when CM Punk came back at the very start, before he actually said Darby Allin, he was just saying, hey, anybody everywhere. Here's a quick side quest. It's like in the UFC. The number one thing I fucking hate in the UFC, besides Dana White, the number one thing I hate is a fighter wins a fight. And just like clockwork, that interviewer will say, what do you want to have next? What do you want next? Right? And they just go, anyone that wants it. Bro, this is your fucking opportunity to tell me what you want. This was their opportunity to make their mission statement. And their mission statement was, huh? And like, that's where it was so disappointing. You had the chance to, we're doing a take two with you fucking guys. We had you go away. You're coming back. What is it this time? Nothing? Like, that's where it's going to be
nothing. It's going to be nothing.
Yeah.
That's what it's going to be. And that's why, like, I just can't get behind it. Sure, the talent's all fine. Right? They all do good.
Why did they spare Ortiz? I want to know that. I want to know why they did it.
Yeah. And again,
so we'll find.
Again, right, on paper, this sounds like a cool storyline. If you're like, we're gonna haze Ortiz into the House of Black, and he's gonna become a member of the House of Black because Ortiz needs something to do. But like, you just came back it's not time for new member yet. Like,
well,
God, Jesus.
But here's the interesting thing about fucking around with Ortiz. Who's his best friend?
Eddie Kingston.
Eddie Kingston in a cult, in a feud? Fuck yeah. I want to see that.
I don't hate that idea. Eddie Kingston and anybody in a feud.
But Eddie Kingston taking on a cult where he's like, well, I have issues.
Give me my fucking friend back.
Yeah, it's like all right, well, maybe they're cool. No, I can't. No, they're not fucking cool. Yeah. But I have issues like they're describing. No, fuck you. I'm going to fight you. Like, that could be very interesting. We'll see.
I love it. Again, if the whole time he's like, just give me back my fucking friend. And then, he's like, Ortiz, snap out of it. And Ortiz says some weird nonsensical thing. And he'll be like, will you shut what the fuck are you saying, weirdo? He's like, stop with your Dungeons and Dragons shit. We're going to go get a hot dog and we're going to get some fucking, take some shots. And he fucking, turns around. He's got black eyeliner on. He's like, oh, God damn it. Like, this is going too far.
Yeah.
That would be so fun.
But again, they had the opportunity. They shit the bed. But we move on. That's enough of them. So we come back from commercial, and oh boy, Tim, we get the women's half hour. Because Tony Schiavone is doing a sit-down interview with our AEW Women's Champion, Jamie Hayter, and she says absolutely fucking nothing.
Fucking nothing. Yeah, why haven't I gotten a sit down? Because this is what you give us when you fucking do a sit down. You don't say anything.
That's the thing. In the interview that we aired on television to highlight our champion, Tony Schiavone says, all right, well, what do you want to talk about? That was the revealing in-depth content we got from our AEW Women's Champion, Tony Schiavone, saying, all right, well, so what do you want to talk about? Huh?
Well, so
and then she just challenges whatever.
Oh, it even went like this. She said, well, I want to, why does everybody get sit down? He's like, all right, you got to sit down. What do you want to talk about? And she's like, yeah, ask me some questions. Like, wait a minute, God damn it. You didn't come prepared for this? You fucking, God.
Yeah.
Look, I was all for the hater train, right? Like, I you know what I mean? I even said, I don't think we're quite there yet for Jamie Hayter takes the world title because of things like this, right? Like, yeah, she's got the charisma, she's got the crowd behind her, but she's Wardlow. Yeah.
She's Wardlow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I hope she can turn it around, but that was not a great start.
No,
that
sure
was
wasn't.
Not a great start.
What do you want to talk about? Ask me some fucking questions.
What? Yeah.
What's your favorite color, you dumb? What do you think about Brittany Griner? Like, what the fuck do you mean ask me some questions?
Great. Yeah. All right, so then we get in the ring. We get Jade Cargill and the baddies, and they do some fun little dance at the start where they turn their back to us and they do a little hip action. And that was fun. They look like a real group. And they take on Sky Blue, the kicked out Kiera Hogan, and Footface. And this was supposed to be, again, here's another thing where, what the fuck are we doing here? We're told that Kiera Hogan gets kicked out. Well, she's found two friends who already have some problems with Jade Cargill and the baddies. So they're aligned with her. All right, we feel bad for you now. Let's go kick those girls' butt. All right, so this is a revenge for Kiera Hogan. Kiera Hogan's going to kick Jade Cargill's ass. She gets tagged in. She does a couple moves. She immediately tags Madison Rayne so that then Madison Rayne can take the finisher.
And does a shit ton. Yeah, right. It just...
Here's again where I will say, now I like Red Velvet. Layla Gray is easy on the eyes. Footface is forgettable. Sky Blue has potential. I think she's lovable, right? She has that potential to be like a Bayley type. And Kiera Hogan is just not good. But Jade Cargill just stands above, literally and figuratively, above all of these girls. Even when she was like directing traffic for her team, she still seemed like the biggest star, even though she was supposed to be. But like, it seemed like this was beneath her. So then she just wins. And I was like, well, what the fuck did we do this for? Like, what do we do that for? No one knows. Now, I will say, the part that may be interesting, who the fuck knows, is Red Velvet I said this on our Twitter at Table Show. Look like Red Velvet may not want to be a baddie that much longer because there was some side eye going towards Jade Cargill, which then at the very end of the segment, they don't let him breathe that often. But Jade Cargill looks back at Red Velvet. Potentially that's a matchup, I guess. What happened to Bow Wow? Like, I fucking don't want him, but like, at least close the loop on that shit. What the fuck are we doing?
Well, yeah, last week we had, Yeah, look, I'm not. I want to make it clear. I'm not asking where's Bow Wow because I'm like, please get Bow Wow back on my TV, right? But if you're gonna tell me we're never seeing Bow Wow again, because this is another thing where Tony Khan said, "Oh, I hear you, pivot, great, cool, okay, I'll accept it." But like, if we see him again next week, like, I don't even need you to close it up if you can just promise me we're never seeing him again. but
I need to.
But I won't know if you don't close it up. Yeah, we won't know if you don't close it up is the issue. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, then we go backstage after that victory from Jade Cargill and the baddies, and it's Saraya.
Hey, how long have we been in stall mode with Jade Cargill? More than half of her reign now has been like, is this done yet? Like, isn't she ready to move on to the top? Mm-hmm. Like, we got Hater can't cut an interview. And
yeah. And neither, I won't say that. Saraya does her job here. Saraya talks about, hey, guess what? Britt Baker is going to interrupt
me.
Like,
this whole half-hour block was just like all the women stuff. Just it used to be the women before the main event. Now it's like the third half hour is all ladies.
The women's half hour. Yeah, it's just that. Because then, as I mentioned, Tony Schiavone's interviewing Saraya. Saraya says, hey, guess what? Britt Baker is going to interrupt me. And Britt Baker's like, you're right, bitch, I am. Which I thought was fun.
Yeah. That was great.
Yeah, fuck you.
You're smart.
Yeah, she's like, good job on that one. So then Schiavone, I can't remember how it goes down, but essentially Saraya says to Britt Baker, I'm not taking you on in a singles match, but I will take you on in a tag match, you and Jamie Hayter versus me.
Oh, it was the other way.
Mystery partner.
So she said, hey, like see you do it again or whatever. She's like, okay, we can do number 2. Like, fucking let's go. Run it back. And she's like, that's not what I said. That's not what I said.
Oh,
tag team match against me and the fucking champ, right? And whoever. She's like, but good luck. You don't fucking find any friends. So who's that, right? Who's that mystery partner now? Like, Kip Sabian's going to bring somebody, but this is Sasha Banks.
No. Oh, God, I hope not. No.
Charlotte Flair.
You know who I'm guessing? No, Jesus Christ. You know who I'm guessing?
Yeah.
Chris Statlander.
Yeah, that's right. She's been out for a bit. We haven't seen her.
That's who I'm guessing. That's who I'm putting my money on. Chris Statlander.
Good pick. Good pick.
She's fucking awesome. I like her a lot. I want her to go back to being an alien, though. I don't like the dark thing. Boop, fucking noses and talk to aliens in the sky. That's fun shit. Anyhow, let's get to the main event, because now we're done with the women. Kick them back to the curb. Here's the main event. We've got the
I gave you 3 things with ladies. You said you wanted more ladies. I gave you 3 things with ladies. There it is. Whole half hour.
Together.
Yeah.
So we get the champions of everything but AEW, FTR, coming out, taking on the champions of AEW, tag team champions of AEW, the Acclaimed. The rap was good. I thought the FTR stands for the remote, or find the remote.
Yeah, find the
FTR
remote.
stands for find the remote.
Line. Such a great line.
Talks about kicking him to the curb like Herschel Walker. Again, another good one. And this match was awesome. I will say, the match of the night for me, because of the brutality, was Samoa Joe, Darby Allin. But just a wrestling match, this one is hard to beat.
Oh, yeah, this was great.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we're talking about this, because this was the main event of Dynamite, and that will segue us when we get out of here, because Tom and I are going to talk a lot about tag team wrestling. But so stay tuned for that if you're watching live, and if you're in a podcast, stay tuned or fast forward, whatever the fuck you want to do. But
so we get a lot of back and forths. We get some false finishes. We get FTR hits their finisher, and I really thought, I was like, fuck, are they really going to take the titles off of Acclaim?
Yeah, thought for a second, I was like, oh no.
Yeah, that one got me. I will say, of all the little false finishes in this match, that one I was like, are you fucking serious? But then it was broke up, count of 2. They continue. I thought it was really cool because who is it? Dash No, Dax and Cash. Cash.
Yeah.
It's Dax is the cop and Dash is the...
One of them is Axe, the other one is Smash, Tom.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
The one with the hair. I can't remember the fucking names, but I love them. As you'll see here in just a second. Cash Wheeler. That's it.
Right.
Cash Wheeler goes for his... but then there's Wheeler Yuta. Too many Wheelers. Anyhow, Cash Wheeler goes for his
Remember how many
finisher.
cages they had? They're like Brian Cage and Christian Cage.
Yeah, and then
Adam
Hangman Page. Anyhow, there's a lot of names here. Let's get back to what we're talking about. So Cash goes for his lariat, or he hits him with the lariat. Then he goes for his power bomb, but then Max Caster rolls through, gets the 3 count, clean as a whistle. Acclaim beat the FTR. What do you think about that? First off, before we talk about post-match and all that stuff, they beat him clean.
Great win for the Acclaim. Great title defense to kind of build that credibility and get. I mean, again, FTR is. Might they be listed as the best tag team in the world? Stay tuned to find out. But great victory. The spot that we're talking about where we thought for a second, like, oh man, they're going to change the titles. My favorite part of that is Billy Gunn is screaming, "Get the fuck up!" to Max Caster, right? He's like, "Get the fuck up!" Like, get up before he gets saved. Just, again, realism, right? He's like, I can't get in there. The ref's seeing me, but I can yell at him, like, "Get the fuck up!" Great stuff. Loved it. Liked the victory. And then they're still like, "Hey, man, scissor." Right?
Well,
like, come on.
Well, what brings the world together better than scissoring? And so we get a, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, a 5-way scissor party.
Right. Haven't had one of those in years.
Billy Gunn's also, I haven't done that since college. So we get a 5-way scissoring party to end the show. But it's not, because the Ass Boys are up on the TV. And here's where
the Ass Boys. Yeah.
Well, but here's where I think we know. Again, our proclamation is we're not talking about backstage stuff, but we have been told that the Briscoes are banned from Warner Brother television Discovery shows, but they're going to face FTR. Kind of fucking hard what we're doing here.
Yeah.
So I give them the benefit of the doubt. However, the Ass Boys, I guess on behalf of the Briscoes, say, you're taking on the Briscoes, and it's a double dog collar. And I just want to say, again, if we're in the world, what are you doing then, Ass Boys?
Yeah.
Like,
well, why are you simping for the... Now, I get it. It's like, hey, we hate you. These guys hate you also, so we're going to let them... we're happy to help them beat your ass, so congratulations. So that one that one in my mind I got past, but but like, are you guys just going to hang out on the side during this double dog collar match?
So I think this is what happens. And
yeah,
I guess we didn't talk about this off air. We could potentially do it, but Ring of Honor Final Battle is this Saturday. We could do picks, but
I don't know anything.
We'll get to it if we have time. However, I will say I'm going to guess that the Briscoes beat FTR for the championships because of the Ass Boys.
Yeah.
Then I think down the road we get a 3-way where the Briscoes beat the Ass Boys, but then FTR can go to AEW and then take on the Acclaim and say, like, now we really want to kick your ass, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what we're going to do. That would be what I would do. But,
so I will say about this segment, you mentioned it, ROH Final Battle's coming up. I had no intentions of buying this pay-per-view and watching it live. And I say because now when you tell me FTR and Briscoes in a double dog collar match, I'm like, I might give you $50 to watch that.
And if you recall the last 2 matches that they've had in this calendar year, that's kind of must-see TV.
I give Briscoes a lot of credit for that. Stay tuned. We'll discuss that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those 2 matches were outstanding. And now you're going to say we've baked in the brutality of chains with a dog collar match. That's kind of must-see TV. I have to say, that feels like that should main event the show. All credit to fucking Jericho and Garcia and Joe and all the people. That needs to main event the show. Kick the show off with Jericho so we can get past it, but then main event with FTR versus the Briscoes, because that, I think, is where your money's at. But Tim, that was AEW Dynamite. Again, some highlights. Ricky Starks, Samoa Joe, Darby Allin hates himself. Then we got the women's half hour, and we got a great tag match. What'd you think of this episode of Dynamite?
Another solid B plus AEW Dynamite, if you ask me. I like that we may be concluding the ROH era of AEW Dynamites. That
sure hope so.
Is a plus for me. And we got some great tag team wrestling. And tag team wrestling is great, Tom.
Well, let's talk about it. So Pro Wrestling Illustrated, which we like to look at from time to time, and I'm a sucker for a good list, put out their list of the top 100 tag teams of the last year. Now, I don't know their parameters. I don't know if they start in October and they go back to October of the previous year. I don't know what their calendar is, right? But for us, we've decided we're going to just talk about 2022. So January to today. And so instead of 100, because that number is too much and not good enough for
we're doing this live, pal.
Attention span.
Yeah.
We're going to do 5. So I have made my 5 top tag teams in the world. Tim has made his top 5 tag teams in the world. I don't think we determined what we're going to do. Are we going to do your 5, then my 5, or 5 and 5, 4 and 4?
Let's do 5 and 5, just because that way, there may be the same people may fall at different numbers, and then we're having to talk about the same folks twice and sum it up. So let's just Let's do your list. We'll do my list, and then we'll talk about the folks on it. How about that?
So I'm going to do my full list, and then you're going to do your full list?
Yeah, because I think we got a lot of bleed over. We may have 6 or 7 teams to talk about, probably.
All right, so I got an outside looking in, because a good list always has an outside looking in. Now, spoiler alert, unfortunately, my preference was all male tag teams. I saw on there, friend of the show, Marty Bell, the Hex made it into the top 10. Credit to them. Full transparency, as much as I love seeing Marty Bell at Up Down, and I've seen her at Central States Wrestling and all the other local wrestling shows, and she lives here in Kansas City, great person to know. I don't watch NWA. I don't know how. I don't know when it's on. Apparently it's on YouTube, but I don't know when that is.
Yeah, my list will strictly be AEW, WWE, and the women's tag team divisions, and both of those things were pretty much non-existent, so I didn't include them.
Right. Well, so with that being said, my list is all males, but my outside looking in does have a couple females in it. So outside looking in, I'm going to give you a 3. Outside looking in, first off, Alpha Academy. They lose a lot, but shush, all the stuff that Otis does, just being the stuff, love those guys. Also, from NXT, I got Toxic Attraction. And here's why. I don't know shit about NXT because I don't watch it because I kind of think it's not that great. However, Toxic Attraction, for whatever reason, continues to show up on my social media for moments on NXT or, the things that they say or the matches that they've had. So with that being said, and me checking that out through social media, I'm interested. So they're in there. Outside looking in. Again, not my top 5. And then the other one, we saw this team in person in Chicago. I've also seen them in previous years. I love both of them individually. Put them together, they make a good Bussy. I've got Bussy, Alley Catch, and Effie as my outside looking in. So that's my outside looking in.
That's
Every
great.
good list has it.
I like that. I've got 3 of those.
So now let's get to... All right, so you want to do your outside looking in?
Yeah, I'll do the outside looking in. My outside looking in, Alpha Academy just didn't quite make the outside looking in list. They would have been a 4th.
It's the outside looking in?
Outside looking in. But I would put RK Bro in the outside looking in. I would put Swerve in Our Glory in the outside looking in. And I would put the Briscoes just outside looking in, right? If we're doing brackets, I've got them in the first, right? The first one out. Okay. Close.
All right, so I'm going to go number 5.
But the Swerve in Our Glory, I think, is one that we don't talk about because they weren't necessarily, did we consider them a tag team, but I think they had a lot of moments, and they're still got some storyline tension to be had there. I think they did a lot with what they had in this year run. Swerve in Our Glory. The Briscoes are the Briscoes. The matches you mentioned earlier. Now, I also might have put them higher if I watched more independent wrestling. And RK Bro, I think, was one that quietly did a lot, not necessarily for tag team wrestling, but that tag team helped establish Matt Riddle again on this kind of upper tier, right? The sort of rubbing elbows with Randy Orton helped that character quite a bit.
So let's get into my number 5. My number 5 is RK Bro for all those reasons. I think the early half of 2022 going into the summer, the only fucking reason to watch Monday Night Raw was because of RK Bro. Legitimately, before Vince McMahon left, everything was dog shit except for the fun that it looked like Randy Orton was having standing next to Matt Riddle. And then Matt Riddle doing the, hey, Randy. I thought they were the silver lining in what was a shit sandwich of WWE for a long time.
So fuck it, we'll do it live. I changed my mind. We're going to do you did your number 5. I'll say my number 5, right? Coming just above the RK Bro. And again, RK Bro necessarily, like, yes, they were a tag team, but they weren't necessarily doing like the greatest tag team things necessarily, as more of it was focused on their friendship. I put the Young Bucks at number 5. I don't think they had the strongest year that they'll ever have in tag team wrestling, but they were integral in a lot of things in AEW over the year of 2022. And I mean, it's the Young Bucks, right? High profile matches, and it's the Young Bucks. You like them. Don't lie. You know you like them.
Look how far we've came. Look how far we've came.
Yeah, on principle, we would have never put them on a list.
Ever.
On principle.
Ever.
Yeah.
Look at them.
Right.
Now, here's the only reason why they didn't make anything outside looking in or top 5. They missed 3 months.
Yeah.
And the second half of this year, even before they did the Brawl Out, as they call it now, the trios thing, in my eyes, took them out of tag team.
Yeah,
now, let me clarify this as well. To me, a tag team is 2 people. I do not count New Day. I don't count the Freebirds.
Well, New Day
I don't
now.
count New Day now.
New
But
Day
when Big E was there.
But New Day now just kind of started ratcheting up. Like, so we might talk about them in 2023 as we're talking about them now. They seem to be focusing in again on the Kofi Xavier Woods tag team as of late.
Right. But what I'm getting at is like Death Triangle, I do not consider a tag team. Lucha Bros, I do.
That's my number
Death
4
Triangle,
is Lucha Bros. Now, a lot of their stuff was heavy focused on the Death Triangle, but again, I mean, lest we forget, whenever the Lucha Bros get in on a tag team, it's one of the best things on the card, and they've wrestled anybody and everybody this year. Penta shines so much that we said, tag team champs. Penta shines so much that we said, like, Penta needs to be your world champion. Lucha Bros are coming in hot at my number 4.
Love that pick. I love the Lucha Bros. But again, for me, just like the Young Bucks did more trios than tag team. And for me, trios aren't tag teams. You can say whatever you want. Hashtag tweet table. Send an email at tableshow@gmail.com. Tell me why I'm dumb. But that's how I see it. Tag teams are 2 people.
Who's your 4?
So my 4 is who you mentioned earlier, the Briscoe brothers. I fucking love their promos. Their 2 matches with FTR were so fucking great. When we saw them in person at the GCW show in Chicago, and they just walked out, that's what sold them. I was like, the fucking energy, the presence, and then the brutality. That fucking match was incredible.
That whole night. Yeah, it was great.
But
the Briscoes, they just have that presence where you're like, oh, car windows are getting broken tonight. We are going, like, you know what I mean? Somebody's losing teeth. It's going to be wild tonight.
They have the Eddie Kingston quality where I don't know if they're acting here. I think they were just told to talk about that person and everything else is a shoot to it.
Well, it's very Sandman-esque, right? It's like somebody just told them to come out and start swinging this stick, and everybody better watch out.
But even in their promos, when they were talking about FTR and they were in the chicken coop and one of them's walking in the back trying to like get a chicken and the other one's like, all we are out here is doing is grinding.
You ever seen the gun cleaning promo? Like that.
Yeah.
That thing. Yeah. Uh-huh.
They're incredible. Yeah. So for their 2 matches with FTR and then on top of that, seeing them live in person, they make my 4 spot.
All right.
What do you got for 3?
Number 3, I've got what has taken the world by storm, and it is the scissoring train I've got the Acclaimed, right? I think we should have pulled the trigger earlier. I think that's where Tony Khan, again, did one of these course corrections, listened to the crowd, and I think just how can they not be on this top 5 list? They have taken the world by storm. The Acclaimed, Daddy Ass, the whole package, how we got there, just the love that we all now have for Anthony Bowen and Max Caster. Love the Acclaimed. All their matches are great too. Like they're not giving us duds. It's not all flash, you know what I mean? Stuff like the raps are good. Mm-hmm. The friendship is there. The charisma is there. It's a party every time you see them, and I love them. The Acclaimed.
Yeah, they're my number 3 as well. And for all those reasons, the other things that I will kind of give you my 2 cents on, even when they had no storyline and they're on Dark, the one-liners from Max Caster was must-see television. You found the YouTube clip, videos, you found it on Twitter, whatever it is, you made sure to hear the Max Caster rap whenever they were on. So that was 1. 2, I can't think of anything in pro wrestling, for me, and maybe I'm prisoner of the moment here, but not since the Too Sweet of the Bullet Club, which was a ripoff of the NWO, have we seen wrestling fans in the wild scissoring each other. I have seen that in the wild, 2 wrestling fans from afar, not at a wrestling show.
They did to us out on the streets outside of the Now Center.
Yeah.
They just walk by us and scissor us.
So for that reason, what they're doing, they're captivating crowds across the nation, across the world. For me, when you're having things done, like I said, out in the wild, in the workplace or wherever, when it's John Cena, You Can't See Me, or it's the Too Sweet, or it's the Suck It, it's the scissoring now, you have to be in top 5.
Fun fact, I got ordered myself a Spanish Announce Table t-shirt, which you can do by going to prowrestlingtees.com/Spanish Announce Table, and I got it mailed to me. $20, great deal. And I get it out of the mailbox. I got my son in the car, and I was like, and I hand him like all the mail, and he sees Pro Wrestling Tees. His eyes light up, and he goes, "Is this a Scissor Me Daddy Ass shirt?" And I was like, even better, but no. It's a Spanish Announce Table shirt. His eyes may have not had as much flicker in them as the Scissor Me Daddy Ass. Well, we don't have
a thing.
But that's the thing, right? Like he's not even watching wrestling week to week. He just sees kind of the things I show him. But the Scissor Me Daddy Ass, he knows full and well, and it's just cool. It's just fun, right? Scissor me. It's the just other fun. You just want to fucking don't you?
The last thing that I will say that I think is also another thing that I can't recall, and again, someone let me know. But we at All Out, the crowd, decided that one man's chant is no longer his.
Yeah.
We're hijacking it, and it now belongs to the Acclaimed.
Yes.
It was Bask in My Glory for Keith Lee. And on that night in Chicago, at All Out.
And to this day.
Better than Brawl Out. Yeah, better than Brawl Out. Better than anything else that happened that night was we decided as a community, oh, Scissor Me Daddy, will now go to the Acclaimed. That is
we need to do
incredible.
People who were here, we need to get the legit answer. Who was the smart motherfucker who put those two together and started that crowd chant? Because I want to, I would say I want to shake his hand, but I want to scissor that guy.
Yeah.
Fucking,
yeah. So for the
I want to scissor that guy, Tom.
I know.
Yeah. All right. So that was my number 3. Who's falling in on yours?
Yeah. So that was my number 3.
Oh, that was your 3 as well. All right, look at that.
Yeah.
We agree. Yeah.
So for all of what they did, and again, the power of making yourself get over when creative had nothing for you is another testament of how great they are.
With something new.
My number 3
and we talked about this where it came out of an honest, I mean, he's doing the like A-Town down, and he just like, hey, give me a little scissor action. And it just exploded from there. So fun.
Love it. All right. Who's your number 2?
Year of the Scissor. My number 2, we had gone back and forth on this, and I think I finally came around to your way of thinking. So my number 2 is the WWE Tag Team Champions, the Usos. The Usos you're holding 2 belts in WWE. You're in this bloodline storyline, the only really interesting storyline going on, and not even always itself was interesting, but like they found a way to both elevate themselves through that storyline. You know, the tag team champs, they're going on potentially setting a record for most longest reigning champs. Usos. If not, you know what I mean? There was, you could talk me into believing they're the best tag team in the world, but I think they're number 2.
Same for me, number 2. So I think our top 3 are the same, which is interesting because we didn't do this together. But what I will say about the Usos is they go over the Acclaimed because they held both the Raw and SmackDown championships. They also broke the record for longest reign in WWE history, breaking the New Day record. However, the most interesting thing about the Usos were their relationship to Roman Reigns.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think they would be here without that.
Right. They didn't truly have a rival. You could say the Brawling Brutes for a little bit. Again, the New Day had that quick moment in the time to pass them.
But there isn't a whole lot.
They didn't have a rival
there to be had either, right? So it's, again, I think they're there by happenstance less as much as, I mean, the Usos are capable of performing like the second best tag team in the world, but I think where they were situated, they're light years above what's around them, so it became easy to have this, we've been champs for 17 years or whatever it is.
Yeah, they almost feel like the Jade Cargill of the WWE tag team division.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Can they give them something else? And they're like, well, there's nothing else here. So
they should have to take on 3 guys each time.
Right, yeah, mine
that's a thing a tag team needs to do. Some tag team champions be like, we're so good that we'll only take challenges from trios. Like, it's got to be 3 dudes. You got to find a 3rd man because you suck. You ain't beating us without him.
Yeah, I like that idea, actually. Yeah. All right, so then who's your number 1?
It's FTR. I mean, look, they are the champions of everything, right? And nobody gets a Road Warrior pop, right? The famed Road Warrior pop. But if there's a tag team that gets a Road Warrior pop of 2022, it's FTR. That music hits and everybody's up. I don't think there's people who dislike them. I think they connect to all walks of life.
I think, and so they're my number 1 as well. And so to further your point, what I would say and why they're my number 1 is, yes, that music hits. We all fucking like it. When that music plays, we dance, we do all this stuff. They put on amazing matches. I mentioned the Briscoes. We just talked about their main event against the Acclaimed. But here's the other thing that I think what puts them over the top of the Usos, Acclaimed, Briscoes, RK-Bro, all of that, is they do their shit in AEW. And Ring of Honor is the same thing as AEW, so I'm not counting that one, right? But they do their shit in AEW, and we're the crowd, and yay, okay, oh, great. But then they go to Mexico, and if you recall, they beat the Lucha Bros for those titles, and it was kind of tongue-in-cheek, like, we don't do flips and shit. But you go watch it. I educated myself today. I've been watching some of their AAA Tag Team Championship matches. They're fucking good. And so they go to Mexico and be like, yeah, I know. We look like cops. You don't have to hide your weed, but we're going to fuck up your favorite tag team. Check us out. And then they go over to Japan, in New Japan, where they're notorious for sitting on their hands, being very respectful, clapping when appropriate, and they fucking get over there too. So America, Mexico, Japan.
So I said, they connect to all walks of life.
Yeah. So that is why they're my number 1.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to find anybody who's like, that's just not my bag, right? Like, you'd like FTR. Like, they have a swagger about them. They definitely, like, they're not over the top with anything about their personalities. So I don't want to say they're, like, super unique, but they're just, like, it's very authentic that they are who they are, right? And it just...
Think about Dax's promo leading into All Out about fight like an 8-year-old, when he talked about his 8-year-old's heart and how she had that hole and now it's been sealed up, which thankfully that happened. But they cut promos that are relatable. Now, Cash doesn't do it as much as Dax. Dax is more the give me the mic, I'll do the shit. Cash will say some things there too, but Dax, believability on the microphone is so authentic, just like I've said with the Briscoes and others, that they can cut a promo. You need them to say, hey, we got a minute and a half, get a match over with, Serpentico and Dr. Luther. They'll fucking do it. And they'll probably make me want to watch the match, right? So for that reason, even though, as you said quickly, that this is the year of the scissoring, I will say it is that. But the tag team, because of all where they went and how over they got.
The tag team of the year.
It's FTR.
Yeah, it's the year of the scissoring, but the tag team of the year is FTR. I 100% believe. So, what did you think? Who is your top 5 tag teams of 2022? Hit us up on the Twitter at Table Show. You can email us, tableshow@gmail.com. If you're a boomer, you can do, whatever you want. And unless Tom's got anything else, I will make sure to say on our way out to just remember our proclamation, right? I want to talk about the contracts. We don't want to talk about who's having backdoor meetings. Let's talk about the televised program that we see in front of our faces, just like you see our beautiful faces each week. And with that, we'll see you next week.
The Spanish announce table.